Hello and welcome everyone to the Maxi Geek show. This is your weekly talk show where we talk about the news of the week and maybe look at some trailers and generally just chit chat about games and other geeky related things. This week there's no major bombshell like there was with the Xbox or the Microsoft Activision Blizzard buyout. But there's still been a lot of news, including the return of a long forgotten series, the next phase of Apex Legends and Elder Scrolls Online, as well as the reveal of the February lineup for both PlayStation Plus and Xbox Games with Gold. So let's get into it. We're going to talk first things first about Apex Legends. So Apex Legends is coming up on its 3rd anniversary. So it's almost been 3 years since the game basically released out of nowhere on us. And part of that reveal is we're getting a new legend in the form of Mad Maggie. Now, fans of, or anyone who's seen some of the story trailers from a few years ago, or a year ago, I suppose, when Fuse joined, who's the Australian bloke, he had a bit of a rivalry with Mad Maggie. They were partners for a while, and then they went their separate ways. Now, to make the rivalry a little more authentic, Fuse is an Aussie. Mad Maggie, or Maggie if you prefer, is a Kiwi. So there's a bit of bit of rivalry heading there. So the big thing with Maggie is that she's got her thing here. Let me pop that trailer in the chat. So her big thing is that she has been sentenced to the games, having caused a little mischief here and there, as a syndicate attempted to basically take over her planet. If you watch the story trailer, it all makes sense. There was another trailer released today that was a bit more, they called it the Season 12 launch trailer for the new season, which is called Defiance. And that goes into a little bit more, but I won't talk about that just in case people want to avoid seeing any of spoilers until then. One of the big things, though, is that when Season 9 does launch, Season 12 does launch, it will come with a new game mode called Control, which is a 9v9, not so typical deathmatch. More details on what it actually is will be out over the next week or so. So look forward to that. But yeah, having another legend join the fight isn't a big surprise. It's honestly one of those things that we sort of should have seen coming without too much of an issue. But yeah, it is nice to see that Apex isn't going away anytime soon, and that we're seeing more and more support, more characters from locations around the world joining instead of just more Americans. In the sad news department, well, in the shutting down of a game department, Ubisoft has announced that they are closing down Hyper Scape, which was their 100-player battle royale shooter inside, basically, they called it Neo Arcadia. It was basically Neon Paris. It was created by Ubisoft Montreal, and it did soft launch back in, I think, May or June of 2020. It officially launched in July of 2020, but it never actually released here in Australia, so no one here could actually play this game. Ubisoft Forward came and went last E3, and there was not a single mention of this game. And it was about a week before Ubisoft Forward that a big update was released for the game, for its 3rd season. And then since then, nothing. The game is kaput. So as per the official statement, it says, "We have made the difficult decision to end development of Hyper Scape and shut the game down as of April 28. We set out to create a vertical, close quarters and fast-paced shooter experience, and we are extremely grateful to our community for joining us on our journey. We will be taking the key learnings from this game into future products." Usual sort of PR line to end that one there, basically saying, hey, what we've learned here, we're not going to throw away. What worries me about this is this game didn't launch fully, around the world. They did push it hard to begin with. There were comics, there was, some Twitch stuff going on, and then it sort of just fizzled out of nowhere. And I think it has to do because it was, another battle royale that didn't really have anything going for it other than its flashy substance. Sorry, its flashy style. It didn't really have any substance. But the reason why this is worrying is because Roller Champions, which is their, I think it was 3v3, it might be 5v5, but their roller skating competitive multiplayer game was announced back in 2019, and it had sort of an alpha period on PC for a while, and then sort of since then we got confirmation of the console release, so Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch, and then since then it's gone radio silent, which is not a great thing, especially given how bad Ubisoft have delayed, other games sort of indefinitely. Skull and Bones is a big one. We saw that at E3 2017, and we haven't seen anything of it since. Beyond Good and Evil 2 got announced like a decade ago, and then went and vanished, and then it reappeared. 2 E3s in a row we saw it, and we got a good gameplay sort of preview, and we started seeing things via the Space Monkeys program, and then it sort of vanished as well. So it's been a little weird that, all these things have sort of come and gone, but they're not cancelled gone, they're just radio silent gone. And, we went through all the Ubisoft studios, which have got like 40 of the things. And it's not as if they don't have the staff to work on it, they just seem to prioritize their annualized, or what's a better word for it is probably their more seasonal gaming franchises. So For Honor and Rainbow Six Siege, things where they can keep charging battle passes for to get people in, which hey, if it's making money for them, sure. But losing out on all this not competitive stuff, but losing out on all the extras that people, the fresher ideas, that's sort of a bit of a letdown. But speaking of, everything that's old is new again, is Cow the Kangaroo is hopping back into action later this year. So initially, Cow debuted on the Dreamcast, and then there was a sequel on GameCube and sort of all things. There was even a Game Boy Advance version. And yeah, so he's coming back. I'll pop the story here in the chat so you can watch the trailer on your own. It is, unfortunately, it does use licensed music, so I'm not going to be playing it on stream just to avoid, that thing. But yeah, this is sort of a return to the old, late 90s, early 2000s, character platformer. As you can see, they say down the bottom, work in progress, but the game is looking pretty good. It's definitely got, a cartoonish looking vibe to it, which, I'm all for. I think that's fantastic. But yeah, they sort of just dropped that news out of nowhere to say that it's coming back. It is coming sometime in winter of 2022, so we are, at least sort of 4 months away. If it's out June 1st, upwards of 7 months away if it's out at the end of August. But it is going to hit Switch, PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Which is again a very nice thing. I wasn't expecting that particular, character to make a resurgence, but if that's what they want to do with this legacy character, then I'm all for it. Something that is probably a little more local and a little more relevant to many players is that Final Fantasy XIV Online has now got local servers. So players previously, up until January 26, if they wanted to play the game, they had to connect to either a North American server or a European server, or maybe an Asian-based server. But Square Enix have now opened up a data center here for the game, meaning that there is now an Australian or an Oceanic server. So Australian and New Zealand gamers, people from Fiji, Papua New Guinea and all that, can actually connect to the servers here. There is obviously, you can transfer your character across and bring them into the game. There is a bit of a process for that as well, but they're not doing everyone all at once in order to make sure that everyone who does get in has a good experience. Most things will transfer across. but not everything will. Um, but the good news is now that there's a new server, they're actually selling the game again. So for a while there, the server capacity for the title maxed out. There was literally no room for people to get in and play the game. And while spinning up temporary servers can relieve some of the stress, as temporary servers, the name literally implies they're not going to stick around for long. So they had to come up with a better solution. And this was one of the this is one of the things that somebody put forward, and they went with it. As you can see here, they did put together a little Final Fantasy themed map for Australia and New Zealand. If you do want to download it, it is a large image, so you can actually set it as a wallpaper. What's interesting is we've got a little koala here. Here's Uluru, so you can actually see some of the Final Fantasy font as well, which is, again, sort of an interesting thing for them to do. I'm very happy that they've done it. I don't play the game myself, but for those players who do want to enjoy more Final Fantasy XIV Online, and more specifically have the ability to enjoy it without massive lag, it's very good news. Just having some water. All right. Earlier today, Sea of Thieves revealed their content plans for 2022. Now, normally, what Sea of Thieves has done over the last few years is they'll talk about the new content for the season as the season gets ready to go. 3 months later, that season is starting to wrap up, so they'll hype up the next season. That is not what they've done this time. This time they've said, hey, these are the plans we've got for 2022. So what they've done is they put together a massive 20-minute video that details the entire, plan. So again, I'll pop this in the chat. It does go through some things, and obviously there is a link to the Xbox where they do break it down. But what they've done also is they've released this handy little graphic, which I will leave on the screen here. What is cool is, Season 6, Season 7, Season 8, Season 9. So you can see there's new adventures in each, new mysteries, new swag for your pirate to discover and wear. But each of the major sort of aspects of the seasons will have something very, very specific. So Season 6, which is launching in March, will add sea forts to the game. So when I say sea forts, that is literally what they are. They are forts in the sea. They're not on islands where you have to dock the ship and make your way ashore. These are literally forts in the middle of the ocean. Something that is probably a bit of a downer for some players is that they are removing the arena mode this year. Up until now, they've had adventure mode, which is the more traditional Sea of Thieves experience, and the arena mode, which is more PvP combat. They made the decision to remove that aspect from the game going forward, purely because the amount of people making use of it did not measure up to the amount of effort was required to keep both adventure and arena going strong with all the QA and assets and everything. So they simply just made the decision to shut down the arena mode, which myself personally, I never played that at all because Sea of Thieves just took too long to get any sort of content going that wasn't the same few mission types over and over again. So I haven't played it in a number of years. Every time I want to, I just get sidetracked with other things. So, there's not much that we can do about that. But yeah, so if you do play the arena mode in Sea of Thieves, you may want to get your games in quick because it will be going away. Speaking of things, changing, EA and Respawn have announced that they are making 3 new Star Wars titles. Technically, it's 2, but we'll get to that in a moment. So one of the ones that we knew was coming, and this is the official confirmation, is a Jedi Fallen Order sequel. So Jedi Fallen Order obviously was done, was directed by Stig, who was the director of God of War 3, and it was sort of a blend of the Star Wars sort of, world with Titanfall maneuverability and God of War combat, and it really resonated with a lot of people. Early last year, Yeah, early 2021, Respawn put out a big patch for it for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S owners, which added higher frame rate support, more graphical bloom, and a few other bits and pieces. One of the things that they've done is obviously they've been working on this for a while. It is expected to release later this year, but we'll have to wait for an official reveal of the game to see if that's gonna happen. Strangely enough, May 4th is the date that people are saying we might see this on. But so Stig Asmussen is back directing for it. But the one that is very cool is that Peter Hirschman is directing a new FPS title set in the Star Wars universe. So we haven't had a proper FPS in quite some time. Obviously, we've had the Battlefront title. So we had the more recent Battlefront 2 from DICE with its shaky launch of microtransactions. But back in the day, we used to get a lot of FPS sort of titles. We had the Star Wars Jedi Knight series, the Star Wars. Shadows of the Empire wasn't first person, but it was a third person shooter. But the reason why this is interesting is that Peter Hirschman, who is directing this title, he recently directed 2020's Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, which was their Respawn Entertainment's VR Medal of Honor title, which featured a bunch of documentaries in the game that you would unlock as you played through them. Initially, they did patch the game to just have them in the menus for people to watch whenever they wanted. And one of those shorts won an Oscar for Best Short. So it is the only video game in existence to have an Oscar. So there you go. But Peter Hirschman, the reason why he has, why I'm sort of, excited about his, directing an FPS is that he was the co-creator for Medal of Honor. So as the co-creator of the Medal of Honor series, he oversaw the writing and all that of the original games, which, if you didn't know, spun up because Steven Spielberg saw his son playing GoldenEye and sort of said, hey, maybe we could do something, but with World War II, because that's what he loves. And that's sort of how we got started with the things, which is why they're actually done by Amblin Entertainment back in the day and DreamWorks. But so back on point, he obviously did the Medal of Honor games, and then why this is it's sort of interesting is that a bunch of the Medal of Honor staff left EA to start up their own studio, and they called their studio Infinity Ward, and they created Call of Duty. After the success of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, the leads at Infinity Ward had some issues with Activision management over Modern Warfare 2, so that was redone. They reworked the thing, and then there was Fallout and a whole bunch of stuff. But those guys left and spun up Respawn Entertainment, and then the fact that they started making Medal of Honor was a bit hilarious. But after making the Medal of Honor games, Peter Hirschman left EA and went to Lucasfilm, where he oversaw the development of many Star Wars titles, including Star Wars Battlefront, Star Wars The Force Unleashed, which was those two, uber Force fantasy titles. The Lego Star Wars series, he was the vice president of production on those. Product development. But even Star Wars Empire at War, which was the turn-based RTS title. Not turn-based, just the RTS title set in the Star Wars universe. So he has the pedigree of shooting titles and the pedigree of Star Wars. So he knows both very well. So the fact that he is leading a team creating a new FPS title in the Star Wars universe is very cool. Development on that has only just begun, though, so it's going to be quite a while until we see it. Now, the reason why I mentioned Empire at War towards the very end of that is because the third game that Respawn are working on is technically not one that they're developing, but a new company called Bit Reactor, who started up sort of late last year by industry veteran Greg Forshitz. I can't pronounce that, but he was one of the lead designers on the XCOM series at Firaxis. So he left them, spun up his own studio, and the first title that they're making is with Respawn, and it is a turn-based strategy. It's a strategy title set within Star Wars. There's no word on if this is modern Star Wars, prequel Star Wars, sequel Star Wars, or if this is High Republic. There's nothing about that at all. But yeah, so there's a few quotes here. One from Peter Hirschman, and then you get a couple of things from the suits at Lucasfilm Games and Walt Disney Games. But what's interesting is these now make six Star Wars titles that we know are coming. So we have Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order 2, Star Wars FPS, and Star Wars Strategy from Respawn. From Ubisoft, they are working on a new Star Wars experience out at Massive Entertainment, the folks behind The Division and the Avatar title that's coming out this year. Over at Aspire, they are remaking Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic for PlayStation 5 and PC. And the folks over at... I've forgotten the studio name. They did Detroit Become Human. The David Cage studio. They are doing the High Republic title. Sorry, I have to look at this name up because I can't think of what it is. Quantic Dream, that's the one. So yeah, they are doing Star Wars Eclipse, which is set in the High Republic. So the only character that fans will know from the 9 movies, or the original trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, or the Clone Wars, is Yoda, because Yoda, obviously, he was 800 years old. He was in his 800s when Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, released. So he was very much around when the High Republic was happening a few hundred years before then. So yeah, so it seems to be a good time for Star Wars fans with 6 very different experiences coming from a handful of different studios. The one thing that we've the talk has been happening around the place is that DICE wanted to make a third Battlefront, but apparently EA said no, you can't do that. And apparently it's just a cost thing. The Star Wars license is very expensive, which I'll be honest, does not surprise me in the slightest. But with that cost comes an investment into the series, and if there's no return on that investment, forthcoming, and especially with a title like Battlefront, it definitely only appeals to a select group of players. Battlefront 2 was a little different because they did throw in a campaign. It was, I'll be honest, a joke of a campaign, because they kept saying, this game's all about how, you're playing for the Empire, you're the Empire side. It's like, yeah, we know you're going to swap it pretty much straight away because that's what you always do. What is interesting too is there also is apparently a title in development at EA Motive, who are the studio doing the Dead Space remake, where they're looking to do another, look into the Squadrons world. Whether or not that's true, we'll have to wait and see, but that is interesting as well. Also, what happened this week was the Taipei Game Show took place. So I'm just going to have some more water. As part of the Taipei Game Show, Bandai Namco and From Software were on hand, and they released a 45-minute developer discussion about Elden Ring. Now, this sort of snuck under the radar of quite a number of people, but what's interesting about this is that there is a lot of information to sort of be seen about it, because they do answer a lot of questions. So, from this, we know, there's 30 or so hours of story content to be sort of experienced, but there's many, many more hours of content that are side quests and other missions. We have basically a month left to go now until the game is released. So there is, quite a short wait now for the title, but I will pop the video in the chat, because if you are a fan, you do want to know some things about it, that is probably the best way that we can talk about it. Something interesting that, well, it's not something interesting, something exciting that did happen this morning is that we got the reveal of the 2022 campaign expansion for the Elder Scrolls Online. And as was predicted by me, and I'm sure many others, we are heading to the homeland of the Bretons. We are heading to the High Rock region, or the High Isles, as they're calling it in this game. So the official name is High Isle Legacy of the Bretons. And there is obviously a cinematic reveal trailer here for it. But there's a few things. So in March, there is the... where have I got it? I've got it here. The Ascending Tide DLC. So as fans of the series will know, there is a precursor DLC that generally releases about 3 months before the main expansion does. And then there are 2 more DLCs that release later in the year. The Ascending Tide... we'll add a couple of dungeons and sort of start getting the story moving forward. So it's basically a taste of what's to come, if you will. But then on June 6th for PC and Mac players, and then June 21st for Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. That is when the expansion will release for them. But that is when you can get it. So we're looking here, 30 hours of new content, and the new Higher Isle and Aminos locations, which is the first time these locations will have ever appeared in an Elder Scrolls title. Okay, so as you can see here, within the Sistries Archipelago, it's a tropical atoll ringed by stunning white cliffs and host to both majestic castles and dense jungles. So we've had beautiful landscapes with... it's down here. I've got it in the list down here. I know it. With Somerset. So we have had beautiful locations with that. We've had forests with Morrowind and Elsewhere. So this is now sort of combining the two. Think probably maybe sort of the Gold Coast region of Australia more than sort of the top end of Australia. So a lot of blue skies and nice tropical sort of forests around the place. One of the things that's interesting is that there is an addition of a new game in there called Tales of Tribute, which is a new card game that players will be able to enjoy all around Tamriel. So even though it's coming in as part of this expansion, if you're in any of the other cities or inns around the world, you might be able to find somebody who's playing this game from the NPC world, and challenge them to a hand or two. What is very interesting is that you can also challenge other players, other real world players. So you and your friends could literally just spend hours inside the Elder Scrolls playing a card game, because why not? But as you win more matches in the taverns and in competitions, you will start to earn rewards and unlock achievements. So there is actually benefits to you playing this game, but of course it's a completely optional thing, so you don't have to worry about it if you don't want to. I did skip over sort of the main story beat of the expansion, just to avoid spoilers on that for people who want to wait and see it on their own. One of the things that we got last year is companions, and this expansion will release 2 more for the game. So we have Ember, the Khajiit sorcerer, and Isabel Valois, the Breton knight. So if you already have a companion and you don't want more, don't have to worry about it. If you have a companion and you don't like them, or you didn't pick up a companion in last year's offerings, there's 2 more potentials that you can add to your collection going forward. As they've done with all of them, there is 2 ways of getting the title. There is the full release, which is the Elder Scrolls Online High Isle release, which comes with Blackwood, Greymore, Elsewhere, Somerset, and Morrowind expansions. So it's literally, if you're coming in fresh, or you only have the base game and maybe 1 expansion, this is how you get into it. If you already have the content you want, so you've got the base game and maybe 2 of the expansions, and you want to get into High Isle, you just need to buy the upgrade. Okay. There is a collector's edition of both versions, so if you're getting everything or just the upgrade, and it does come with new pets and new mounts and a bunch of additional items here to enjoy. And anyone who pre-purchases will also get some additional content, including this ghost fawn. Very interesting, though, is that if you pre-purchase on the 5th of April, you don't get the fawn. You get everything else, but you don't get the fawn, which is, I find that to be a little weird, but, you know, to each their own, I suppose. But sticking with the Elder Scrolls theme, Bethesda Australia. So this is Bethesda Australia, not Bethesda as a whole, but Bethesda Australia have commissioned a chili chest. You could call it a chesky, or a chesky esky, or an esky chesty, chest. Yeah, it's a little bit of a tongue twister, but basically this is an esky inside of a chest, and the chest is themed to the Elder Scrolls. So as you can see here, it is just a simple esky, but it's the outside that is unique. Now, there are only like 2 of these things, and Bethesda are giving one of them away for you to have a chance at winning. Okay, so you can do so by heading to twitter.com/Bethesda_ANZ, or same for Facebook, and literally follow them, like the post, and then answer the question, why? Why are you most excited to see the High Isle? It's a very, very, very simple question, and then it's 1 entry per person. So you can enter on both Twitter and Facebook, but if you enter on Twitter first, your Facebook entry will be discounted. They won't take that. They'll only take the first one that you put in. It's one of those things where if I had the space for it, I'd love to have it. It's a unique thing. It is made by the folks at Scrap Shop Props, or H&S Foundry. But what's more interesting is that packed within it, winners will also receive some unique soft drink called Breton Bitters, which is made by the folks at Burt Soft Drink. Also, we have it here just tucked in on the end here. There is an Elder Scrolls High Isle beach towel as well. So not only will you have a very cool esky to keep your supply of Breton Bitters chilled, you'll also have a beach towel that you can lay on while you enjoy a nice cold bitter. There are also, I think it's a dozen prize packs of the bitters and the beach towel. So even if you enter and you don't win the giant chest esky, or the chili chest as they call it, there you still have a chance to win some of the drinks and towels as well. This is not the first time that Bethesda Australia have made some of these incredible, I won't say offerings, but some of these incredible limited edition items. A few years ago, last year they did the hot sauce. So there's the Elder Scrolls hot sauce. We've seen them do the sweet rolls, at the various PAXs. What was the other one they did? Bottles of moon sugar. So they're forever doing these amazing things. So it's a testament to the team at Bethesda that they come up with these items, but then it's a testament to the studios and the creators here in Australia that they actually get them made. It's not just saying, hey, I've got an idea, what if we made a chest from the Elder Scrolls into an esky, but then actually having somebody be able to do that. So more water. But yeah, so that's obviously, it's a very cool thing that they've done. It's not, not everyone's going to win it, and if you do miss out, there's not much anyone can do about it. But I suppose it is what it is, and we'll have to sort of just leave it, and wait for the next time that they do something like this. As I said, they do it quite frequently, so we should probably see more of it, in the foreseeable future. Enrollments are now open for 2 Point Campers, as the game has been dated to launch on all platforms this May. So 2 Point Campus is from the folks at 2 Point Studios, creators of 2 Point Hospital. If you're seeing a naming trend here, don't be surprised if they keep it up with whatever comes after this one. 2 Point Campus is a game that lets you basically... I would love to have the chili chest is what they officially call it, but sadly it's one of those things where it's just going to be so large that I may not have the space for it. There may also be a thing because I report on their stuff that I may not be actually eligible for entry, but I'll have a look at that. But yeah, 2 Point Campus is launching on May 17th for PC, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. It is taking the foundations of the 2 Point Hospital game and expanding on it. So 2 Point Hospital was very rigid in you had building layouts and then you had to make everything work within that confined space that you were given. 2 Point Campus is different in that you can place the buildings down where you'd like and then put paths and other items in between them. So you actually have to build everything, not just build within the existing infrastructure. They do have a trailer here that sort of just talks about some of the things, but there's things like night school. You can have people do clown classes, clown college, all that sort of stuff. There is and what they're calling the enrollment edition, which comes with a sort of a location map and a prospectus. They haven't said what's in the prospectus, but my guess is probably just a generic notebook that you can write in as if you were going to a class. So you can see here, this is one of the locations. You can build the rooms. They're not, as you can see, they're not actually connecting because they're not meant to. Another one here's obviously a much larger, space to build in. But as you can see, we've got some dorm rooms and all that. So it's very much, here's their cheese ball sporting ground over here to the side. It's one of those things where it's going to be very much for a specific type of gamer. So if you played Theme Hospital, Theme Park, things like that back in the day, this is from the guys who did work on those titles many years ago. So yeah, the fact we knew it was coming, it was dated, so it was revealed last year at E3 officially. It did actually leak a few days before via the Microsoft Store, which seems to be the place that all the leaks happen these days. It always seems to be the Microsoft Store that do that. But yeah, so seeing a date for that is great. No word on if there's going to be a demo or anything for it. They may do it, they may not. It's just one of those things where we have to wait and see. They have said, yeah. So it's very much, more in control than The Sims. The Sims these days seems to be very, you can guide your sim or your sims if you've got a few of them, but everything outside of that is, generally just driven by the game, whereas this is your god, so to speak. It makes me want to play Black and White, if anyone can remember that one. As I was saying, there is a pre-order bonus that if you do pre-order the game, you get a bunch of content for both 2 Point Campus and 2 Point Hospital as well. So that's something to look forward to. Sniper Elite 5 is one that we got last year. It was revealed during the ID at Xbox Twitch showcase at the end of the year, which took place the day after the Game Awards. That's also when we got the Devolver showcase as well. So Sniper Elite 5, it's not a big reveal. We knew about that. We knew last year. What, however, is big, there's two big bits of information on this one. The first is that the series will now offer an invader mode. So players who want to be really tested, so instead of just sneaking around on their own and enjoying the hunt, a friend or an enemy can now invade your game, take up the position of an Axis sniper, because you are playing as the ally sniper, and then they can hunt you down. Now, it's not just hunting you down, it's very much like Deathloop. Deathloop had something very similar last year. So one of the things here is that the Axis invader can use the Axis forces around them to help locate the player. So you can, if you're playing as the Axis sniper, you can instruct soldiers nearby to stay sharp. which will increase their awareness of the surrounds, making it harder for the ally sniper to sneak around. On the flip side, if you tag an Axis soldier, you'll enable what's called Eagle Eyes, which means that if your soldier spots the sniper, the last known location will appear on the map. I thought I had some images on this story. I'll have to add those back in. But yeah, so it's one of those cool things where the series, obviously it's now 5 games deep. They've got the zombie spin-off for it as well. I love the core gameplay of it. I think the shooting is fantastic in this series. It's when you're not sniping that things go a little bit weird. I think it was Sniper Elite 3 where they sort of put that in there, where you could, break out a pistol or a submachine gun and try and escape from the enemies. That wasn't so great. They fixed a lot of it in 4, but yeah. So it's quite interesting. Sniper Elite 4 came to Switch late last year, so all 4 games are on Switch, and now Sniper Elite 5 is coming to all the other platforms as well. The second piece of news that wasn't known until the other day is that when Sniper Elite 5 comes out later in the year, it will be launching into Game Pass for both Xbox and PC. So Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass. So members of that program will get the game as part of the membership. So I think at some point we had Sniper Elite 3, I want to say, as part of Game Pass for a while. But yeah, so this is another one of those titles launching into Game Pass on day one. And I'm just going to, I think 2 Point Campus. I want to say 2 Point Campus is launching into Game Pass, but there was something else. No, it is. So yeah, so 2 Point Campus and Sniper Elite 5 are both launching into Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass on their respective release dates. So 2 Point Campus is May 17, Sniper Elite 5 is later in the year. It's honestly just proving how much value is in Game Pass. Last week we got the Hitman trilogy, so Hitman 1, 2, and 3, from the recent reboot of the series. Excuse me. Rainbow Six Extraction launched into Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass last week. Windjammers 2 launched into both Xbox and PC Game Pass last week. And just the other day, Tetsuno Tatsujin, the Drum Master, so the rhythm game for the big Japanese drums, launched into Game Pass for PC and Xbox. So we've had a few first sort of day one releases in the last 2 weeks on Game Pass, and more games keep coming. Obviously, though, as games get added, some games go away. So Cyber Shadow, which is the ninja game from Yacht Club Games, that's leaving on the 31st of January. Prison Architect is leaving as well, and Xenocrisis as well. So yeah, so we're getting a lot more titles to the service, but we're also, seeing them sort of launching in day one, which does make me think that at some point. Yeah, so Xbox Live Gold, or Xbox Live, I think they just call it now, and PlayStation Plus are both $80 a year. To if you do a 12-month membership. PlayStation members, though, generally will cycle those through. I think it's like every November they do the PlayStation Days, the Days of Play sale with that thing, and then Black Friday and Cyber Monday, those things will drop to about $53, $55 for a 12-month membership, which is great value. So it's good for that. But in terms of what you're getting with them, apart from the ability, I say ability, but apart from being allowed to play games online, there's not a lot of other benefits to being a member of those two programs. If you do pay monthly for Xbox Live Gold, I believe it's $11 a month Australian now. It's definitely, it doesn't break the bank It's slightly more expensive than Disney Plus, but way cheaper than Netflix. But it's $16 a month here in Australia for Xbox Game Pass, Game Pass Ultimate, which gets you Xbox Game Pass, Xbox Live, and PC Game Pass. So for $16 a month, you're getting access to 100 plus titles, with more being added all the time. And of course, with the Bethesda deal, so Starfield will be in there, Redfall will be in there. When the deal went through last year, we got Dishonored, the Dooms, Fallouts, all those titles all sort of hit Game Pass, within a few weeks of each other. So, I do think with all these titles coming in, that we might either see the price increase. So we'll probably see it maybe go up to maybe $18 a month, or the flip side is that we might start to see maybe a tiered subscription. At the moment, you can get Game Pass just for console or just for PC, but I think they might start doing away with that and just saying no, it's one for both. And that price go up. Obviously, it's hard to say what they'll do because they're Microsoft and they've probably got 1,000 things going on at the moment. But yeah, it's kind of one of those interesting things where they could do a lot with it if they wanted to, or they could leave it pretty much coasting as it is now. Oh. Obviously, the other thing that we need to sort of make note of is that Xbox Cloud Gaming. So Xbox Cloud is what they officially call it, is also here. So most of the games that launched this month for Xbox. So Rainbow Six Extraction, Windjammers 2, the Hitman Trilogy, Nobody Saves the World, Paparazzi, Death's Door, and the Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc collection are also all available via the cloud. So if you've got a controller and an iPhone or an Android phone or a tablet or your laptop, or even on your Xbox now, you can play all those games without having to actually download a single piece of the game, which is quite interesting. And also, we got Stardew Valley, Death's Door supports Death's Door and Nobody Saves the World both support touch controls, which means you just need your phone. You don't need an additional controller. But Stardew Valley and Unpacking both got updated to support touch controls on mobile phone. So or iPad or tablet if you play on those. So it's very interesting to see, how much that's growing. We just need it to obviously support, browsers outside of Chrome, Edge, or Safari. They're the three officially supported browsers, but we'll see what happens. Speaking of PlayStation and their yearly PlayStation Plus offerings, the February lineup for PlayStation Plus was also announced the other day. This one is probably one of the most diverse lineups I've ever seen, because it has a standalone expansion pack, a big, fighting game, and then a simulator game. So the big one is in preparation for Tiny Tina's Wonderland launching next month. In March. Tiny Tina, what do they call it? It is officially called Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, a Wonderland's one-shot adventure. So they released this last year, and it was free on the Epic Game Store for like the first week. But that's one of the games included. UFC 4 is another game that's included, and then the third game is Planet Coaster Console Edition. Now, what's interesting about this is UFC is the PlayStation 4 edition. That's it. There's no PlayStation 5 version. Tiny Tina's One Shot. There is a PlayStation 4 edition and a PlayStation 5 edition, but only the PlayStation 4 edition is included. So if you try to get the PlayStation 5 edition of this release, you have to pay for it. And Planet Coaster is the inverse. The game is available on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, but it's only for the PlayStation 5 version of the game. The PlayStation 4 version is not included and will cost you money if you try and get it. And it's not one of those ones where there's you get you get both versions. PlayStation Plus offerings are set up in a way that if you get the PlayStation 4 version of a title, you don't get a free upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version of the game. So yeah, it's a little interesting and a bit confusing with how they're doing it. Unfortunately, that seems to be the PlayStation method for these things, is that they will add games to it, but then say this is this console version only. There's no other version. You don't get it, which it confuses me as to why they do that. But to each their own, I suppose. There's not much I can say about it. But yeah, it's interesting that they do it. Hopefully they can sort that stuff out in the future. This morning, so we got the PlayStation games yesterday, and this morning we got the Xbox games with gold lineup for February revealed. This one's a little bit of a weird mix because we've got one recent game, one from about 5 years ago, one from about 7 years ago, and one from the early days of the Xbox 360 generation. So the full month title, so PlayStation are generally, first or second of the month. It's usually the first Tuesday of the month that they do it. They release the games. They say these are the 3 games you get for that month, or if there's a bonus, they do a 4th or 5th. These are the ones you get. Go for it. Redeem whenever. Xbox do this whole weird thing where they go, no. So you get one game for the month. One game straddles midway through the previous month to midway through this month, and then the new one picks up and goes from middle of this month to middle of next month. And then there's the other 2 games that are only valid for the first half of the month, and then the second one's the second half. I don't know why they do that. It really confuses me, but, who knows? One of the things that, we're going to see is Broken Sword 5, The Serpent's Curse, is the game available for the full month of February, running from February 1st to February 28th. It is, as the number suggests, the 5th game in a series, but it's very different in that it doesn't really require you to have any knowledge of the earlier titles to understand it. Then starting on February 16 and running through March 15 is Aerial Knights Never Yield, which did launch last year on the Switch as well. So it was revealed in an indie showcase event. It is on all the other platforms as well, so that's coming as well. And then the Split games is from the Xbox 360 era. This is very early on. This is sort of late Xbox 360. But we've got Hydrophobia from a development studio that's no longer around. They'll be around. That's around for the first 15 days of the month, and then for the last 14 days of the month is Band of Bugs, which is a tactics strategy game similar to Final Fantasy Tactics, where you'll play as a group of insects and try and fight other insects. So there's been a lot of information this week. As I said, nothing anywhere near as big as the bombshell reveal of Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, but there's been some big news. We got Dynasty Warriors 9 has a demo. Sorry, Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires has a demo that hit all the platforms. We got confirmation that Call of Duty is at least sticking around for the next couple of years on PlayStation. Crysis 4 was revealed to be in development and coming in the future. Blizzard themselves have announced that they're working on a brand new IP, and we know it's not anything existing because in the single sort of piece of, not concept art because they haven't nailed everything down yet, but sort of there's a word I'm thinking of. It's like this is what we're looking to go in the direction of. There's a modern bicycle, so it's definitely not Warcraft related in any way, shape, or form. We do know that's going to be a strategy game. Survival game. But beyond that, we don't know anything else because they have just started sort of working on it. If we're talking, some news regarding, content for things like Disney Plus or Netflix, We got confirmation that seasons 1 to 5 of This Is Us are coming to Disney Plus. When is that? It's the end of the month. February 2nd, so next Wednesday. We got confirmation that the Percy Jackson series has been given the green light to get a season at Disney Plus. So Rick Riordan, the author of that, was spearheading that for a number of years, and the guy directing the pilot just got nominated for a Directors Guild Award for his work on the Benedict Society series. So yeah, it's been a few things for that as well. There was one other piece of news that, if I can remember where I saw it, I don't think it matters too much. But yeah, so we got more details for Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. As I said, we got Star Wars stuff. Total War Warhammer 3 is obviously launching next month, and launching into PC Game Pass on day one. And they also said that will have, for the first time, players will be able to customize their general, if you will. So from the horns of your devil self to the tails and wings and all the bits and pieces, you'll be able to make yourself look however you choose in that one. So yeah, so there was a lot of stuff that we got to see this week. Again, not everything was massive. Some stuff was big, some stuff was small, but that's the way these things work. Obviously, Pokemon Legends Arceus and the Uncharted collection both released today. So in terms of game releases, they were there. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp is getting another, monthly subscription on top of the existing ones. So, it is what it is there. We're only going to be on for another few minutes. We're trying to keep these things to an hour. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at a couple of quick trailers from PlayStation. The first is just a little trailer for Gran Turismo 7.
Lose yourself in the feel of the road beneath you, in the roar of your engine, in every track, every scene, every shot. Lose yourself and find your line.
PlayStation.
What's interesting about that is that they're not doing chunky trailers. They're doing these 30-second vignettes, these 45-second gameplay slices, and sort of leaving it at that, which does concern me a little bit. Hopefully it's just, they don't want to spoil too much of the game, but it's a realistic car racing game. Yeah, I have to think it's intentional, Tabs. I think they're doing it deliberately to maybe build up the anticipation for what the content is. But the thing is, we know what the content is. It's a Gran Turismo game. We know it's a realistic game. We know it's got a photo mode, it's got a car collection mode. We don't know the full lineup of cars, and I'm not saying they're going to reveal that before launch. But it just seems weird that they're doing it in this, broken up release cadence of information, of trailers. And that's the thing. The trailers aren't showing anything. They're not dropping, news of a new track or a new feature. They're just showing gameplay. So it's a little weird that they've done it that way. Another video that we got today, along with confirmation that Uncharted, that Horizon Forbidden West has now gone gold, is we got our first video of the PlayStation 4 version. Now, much like I suspected when they released the screenshots a few weeks ago, the footage here is from the PlayStation 4 Pro model console, not the base PlayStation 4. So, owners of the base PS4, the game may not look exactly the same. It won't look horrible. It's not going to be like Cyberpunk levels of difference, but there may not be as many effects, or the draw distance may not be as as detailed, as far back as this version. But I'll be honest, this looks as good to me as the PlayStation 5 footage we've seen. And again, it's not because, the PlayStation 5 version looks bad. It's just because the game itself has such an incredible artistic design that seeing more of it, it's just... Yeah, I don't know. I look at it and I just go, this just looks so good. So, and there was a second one that they did, which had some fights against the monkey robots. I can't remember what they call them, but yeah. So there's been a few things of that, but yeah, that's where we're going to leave it this week. As I said, there's been a lot of news, but it's all sort of smaller chunks of news. The show will be uploaded to YouTube as well for people who want to watch it there. It'll be up later tonight for that. So yeah, we will be back next Friday for the next episode of the Maxi Geek show, and we will be back on Tuesday for our next installment of the game. I keep going to call it the James Bond game series, but I think for fun I'm going to call it Game Bond, because we're playing all the James Bond console video games. We've completed GoldenEye. We're now working on Tomorrow Never Dies, which is here on the PlayStation. We are working on that one now. We got maybe a third of the way through it on Tuesday just gone. So that will be interesting to see how we go with that on Tuesday. But yeah, thanks, Tabs. The Games Bond series will be streaming at 6:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and the Maxi Geek show will be back on Friday at 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Otherwise, we will catch you online when we are around. For all the news that is good and interesting, head over to maxigeek.com. That is Maxi, MAXI -geek, GEEK.com. And you can also find us everywhere, Maxi Geek, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We've also got a Discord. But we'll see you next time we see you. So happy gaming and enjoy.